are tuned in to Cinema Hits and Misses here on WMPG. I'm Dawn.
I'm John.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Shane.
And we're here live from 8 to 8:30, engineered by our blunt crew, Liliana, Taj, Charlie, and Zach. And we're live, so if you want to give us a call, it's 780-4909. That's 780-4909. What are we talking about tonight?
We're talking about Goodbye Christopher Robin.
And Thor Ragnarok.
And we're going to start off with Goodbye Christopher Robin.
Yes.
Because, we want to ease you into the show, because the bottom half of the show we're going to do...
It's all Thor.
It's all Thor. So, who's got Christopher Robin?
After returning from fighting in the First World War, writer A.A. Mile Allen is struggling with everyday life in the city and would rather be somewhere quiet so he can start his next book. Although his wife Daphne would rather stay in the hustle and bustle. The two decide to move out into the country with their son Christopher Robin, or Billy as his family calls him, and his nanny New. As Allen starts to enjoy his time in the country and little writing of the book, his wife still would rather be in the city. Daphne chooses to leave and gives Allen an ultimatum. Start writing a book and she'll come back. When New has to go home and take care of her ill mother, she leaves Allen and Billy. Allen, who has been more connected with his work, must now spend some quality time with Billy. The two start off at odds, but once Allen sees the two have fun, together the two create a world of pretend with Billy's stuffed animals. A bear, a piglet, and a tiger. As Allen still struggles with writing his book, Billy asks if Allen could someday write a book for him. This idea inspires Allen to take all the fun adventures Billy and his animal friends have. Billy at first is worried people would think he is the same character, but his father tells him that the character's name will be Christopher Robin, not Billy. And although they share the same name, Billy is not Christopher Robin, and Christopher Robin is not Billy. As the book begins to succeed, many of the public begin to see the connection between the two characters, and Billy and his family must now adjust with new fame from a book about a little boy and his best friend, Winnie the Pooh. So, Dawn, what do you think of Goodbye Christopher Robin?
Well, true confession time. I still have my Winnie the Pooh. So for me, it was like I went in this from seeing the trailers and, of course, my love of Pooh and things Pooh, went in there with a little bit more lighthearted tone. And this is darker than expected.
Yeah, especially the opening scene.
Yeah, I mean, this is bracketed by wars.
Mm-hmm.
So, you be aware of that. And, the guys at the Nick had warned me that, A.A. Milne was not a well-loved character, that he was a right, I can't say the word this hour. He was not a nice guy, and the movie does well to explain the reasons why.
Yes.
Not so much for Mrs. Milne, but definitely for him. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I did enjoy it overall. What do you think, John?
I mean, it was fine. I think, as the film went on, I thought maybe the film would have worked better if it had worked from young Billy's perspective, especially with things that happen towards the latter end of the film. And of course, I don't want to reveal that because I think, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to spoil the film. We've had a couple calls about that once with historical films, so I'll try to avoid that. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I thought performances all around were great, and I thought it really hit the emotional moments when it needed to. I felt the emotion, so it didn't completely lose it on me. I just think it was a missed opportunity in terms of where to put the character perspective on.
Ryan?
I really enjoyed it. I'm probably not going to see it again. It's kind of like a one, and you get the story. It's probably good with that. But I think the way that they went about showing Alan having PTSD, I thought was really, really interesting. They did it more surrealist, where he would be in war, but then they would just cut him back to his regular life. And then, as you mentioned, when he's with his son, you kind of do see his son's perspective when his dad's just standing there and he has the 1,000-year-old stare just looking in the woods. And there's a really sweet part where he hears bees and he thinks they're flies from the war. And his son's just like, "They're just bees, Dad. They just want honey." And you see his son calming down and how much his son cared for his dad. And then you kind of see his dad cared for his son, but since he was working all the time, he couldn't really grasped it wasn't until they started having fun. That whole sequence with him and his dad, while it's just them alone, is really funny. Because at first, like, he can't work with his son because since he's on his own all the time, he doesn't know how to grasp the imagination. And then as they start playing and as they start like figuring names for all of like the animals, that it's like just this sweet father and son bonding moment.
Yeah. So, so Goodbye Christopher Robin, of course, there's the thread of the Winnie the Pooh stories by A.A. Milne, and Domhnall Gleeson was wonderful in the role, but it's unfortunate because he's got so many films out now. It's almost getting oversaturated. So hopefully he gets a little time off.
Yeah.
And I love Kelly MacDonald. She played the nanny here, Olive, and the relationship between her and Billy Moon, I thought was wonderful, and also heartbreaking.
Yes.
So for me, it pulled at the right strings. So both building of how you could see the stories being built and how it affected this kid who basically had his childhood cannibalized.
Yeah. I think two things I thought were really cool was the writing reminded me how Winnie the Pooh was written. How like the characters, whatever they're saying, it's kind of hard to describe. Like when, like there's a moment when they're trying to figure out a name for Tigger and how Pooh's Pooh Bear and Piglet's Piglet, and they're like, why don't you just name him Tiger? And it's like, well, he's very Tiggerish, so I think I should like, and it's very sweet. And I forgot what the other one was. So as John, what else do you think?
Forgot the other one.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, overall, a lot of people in my theater seem to enjoy the film. I guess maybe the only other thing I was like looking through my notes, there's a couple pacing issues. I thought maybe it dragged on a bit too long in some spots, but then again, like trying to think back, I don't know what I would cut exactly, because it's all kind of important overall to the story, especially because they kind of go like back and forth really between the two characters, like between like the father and the son. Did you come back to
yes,
that
I
thought,
did.
Ryan?
This movie also reminded me of Miss Potter with Renee Zellweger, which was about Miss Potter and writing about Peter Rabbit, and they both did like this surreal moments of when you see the imagination of here's the character, and you get to see their head to it. Although this one I enjoyed a little bit more than Miss Potter. Known spoiler for that other movie.
Yeah, and for me it was the colorization, because part of when Milne went into one of his kind of flashes, the colorization or the lack of color,
Yes.
I think they played well. So, I mean, I like Goodbye Christopher Robin. I think I'm with you, Ryan, that I saw it, good, it's done. I think it's for an audience that wants a nice, quieter story to unfold and probably learn a little bit more about Milne.
There were a lot of kids when I went, which surprised me.
Yeah. I don't necessarily see this as a kid's movie.
No, I mean,
older kids, but
I mean, it's rated PG, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the war aspect reminds me of how the war is. It's more darker than saying like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, where they show the war, or even with Wonder Woman. But yeah, it would surprise me. I understand why parents would bring their kids to it, because it's like, it's Winnie the Pooh. It's about the creation of Winnie the Pooh. But that opening, I was like,
not so much.
yeah.
Maybe not for small children.
Yeah.
So if you're just tuning in, you've got here Cinema Hits and Misses here on WMPG. This is Dawn here with John Ryan and Shana Leo. And we're going to switch gears and go to Thor Ragnarok. So if you want to give us a call, we're 780-4909, 780-4909. For this next interlude, we're going to do our best to do no spoilers. And in the bottom of the show, we are going to let it roll. So we'll warn you ahead of time. What have you got, John?
All right. We open up to the god of thunder being trapped in a cage. It appears Thor has been captured by none other than the fire god Surtur, who promises destruction of Asgard, a.k.a. Ragnarok. After escaping, Thor returns to Asgard searching for Odin, but he's not there. Instead, it's Loki, his adoptive brother. After uncovering Loki's disguise, Thor begins searching for Odin. Along the way, he encounters a goddess who has recently been released from her imprisonment. Her name is Hela, and she is a force to be reckoned with. She also has a grudge against Odin. She's so powerful that she's able to destroy Mjolnir, Thor's hammer. As Thor tries to flee from Hela, He gets cast down to space and lands on a planet filled with garbage. Thor gets captured and forced into gladiatorial fights. His first foe is someone he expected the least, perhaps a green giant ally. So, Thor Ragnarok is written by Eric Pearson, directed by Taika Waititi, stars Chris Hemsworth, Tom Hiddleston, Mark Ruffalo, Kate Blanchett, Anthony Hopkins, Idris Elba, Tessa Thompson, Carl Urban, and Jeff Goldblum, and has a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, and 90% of audiences liked it. So, Dawn, what did you think of Thor Ragnarok?
Well, going into this, knowing that Taika Waititi was handling, you knew it was going to have a comedic aspect, and I think this is probably one of the more outright funny Marvel movies in the universe. Probably a lot of times at Thor expense.
Yeah.
So I like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
And, because Thor can tend to be kind of a thuggish character, kind of one note. And I think that was nice bringing it out. I was so happy. This is not a spoiler. I'm so happy to see the hair go. And the reason why, I won't give the spoiler for that one, but
That was
to
funny,
see the hair go and have him that kind of
Yes.
slick cut. So Shane and Leo, what did you think?
Well, I really appreciate Chris Hemsworth in a comedic role. I think you're right. Like, Thor can be extremely one-dimensional. He's written that way in the comic books, classically. But Helmsworth really brings like a nice comedic element, and I think that I didn't really see him in that light until his role in the Ghostbusters remake, and really like this guy has great timing. He really he doesn't take himself too seriously. He can really make fun of himself really well. And I felt like this movie was a nice continuation of that, and really showed that side of him, that he really has some good comedic chops, beyond just the the bod and the face and the he actually is a great comedic actor, and the rest of the acting I felt in this movie was great. Anthony Hopkins as Odin, I think probably his best turn as Odin. Really kind of fleshed out that character, and
good thread on that one.
yeah. And also I really felt like Idris Elba really finally got his due as Helmdahl, and that character kind of fleshed out a little bit more in terms of his kind of heroic nature. So all in all, I thought the acting was great. I thought the characters were well written. Hela was really a nice surprise, not being really familiar with that character from the comic books. It really felt like, wow, like this is a great character. And Kate Blanchett was just amazing. She just killed it.
Liked it, Leo?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have my 8-year-old son Leo here with us, and he's a huge Marvel fan. So he got to come to the theater with me to see Thor.
What do you think, Ryan?
I really enjoyed this movie. I saw it twice. And yeah, it's definitely one of the funniest Marvel movies we had, because we just had Spider-Man: Homecoming, which was a really funny movie, and this one, like you mentioned, with Taika, who's very funny with his film Hunt for the Wilder People and What We Do in the Shadows, and he's also worked with Flight of the Conchords, so he knows how to do comedy well. And he plays a character in it called Korg, who in the Planet Hulk storyline, he's very serious, and this one is just like, "Hi, I'm just here," and it's so sweet because he still has the New Zealand accent, and his voice doesn't match.
It's really high pitched. Yeah, this giant purple rock guy,
and he's just like, he has a bunch of he steals a bunch of the scenes, and Jeff Goldblum plays Jeff Goldblum so well in this movie. He plays the Grandmaster, but it feels like they just put the makeup on, put the thing in, just say whatever you want in this situation.
Yeah.
I think I saw an interview with Taika that he said that they had a 15 minute long scene of Jeff Goldblum just talking, and they had to just cut it down.
Yeah.
What about you, John?
That's funny. Yeah, overall, I really enjoyed the film. If anything, Taika Waititi excels in creating humor, especially with Hunt for the Wilder People. That was a great film from last year. It's definitely a comedy first and then a comic book movie second.
Yeah.
But that being said, as a comic book movie, it's definitely a lot of fun. There's it very much Guardians of the Galaxy vibe with like the sense of its burst of color. It's in space. It's really quirky. It even had like some good character depth to it too. I think Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie.
Excellent.
Yeah, I really liked it, and it was a nice surprise. And even Hulk. I mean, it's been shown in the trailers, and he's a riot.
Hulk, so
Yeah, I
good.
mean, it's almost the characters you mentioned. It's like 3 buddy movies in this, because you have Thor with Loki, Thor with
Hulk,
Thor
with Banner.
and Thor with Valkyrie.
Yes. Yeah.
So you've got these 3 buddy movie tropes that are woven through and done well. And and I've got to mention too Carl Urban.
Yes, he's so
who
good.
Plays a smaller role, but again does it so well that it just kind of melds in with this whole universe.
Yes.
So and how he and Kate Blanchett play off each other, I think is excellent.
What I'll say for some people going to this movie, how we've had a lot of superhero movies, and like some of them are really deep, and some of them like Captain America: Civil War or Captain America: The Winter Soldier. This film may not please everyone, but I'll say that this movie is like if you took He-Man or any 80s Saturday cartoon and just made it live action and just ran with it. And it like right when it starts, as we played Immigrant Song, the first shot of just Thor fighting by himself, I just had a smile on my face because I'm like, this is like I'm watching like Thundercats or something. It's awesome.
Well, and as you mentioned, what we opened the show with,
Immigrant Song by Led Zeppelin.
Great Led Zeppelin song. So much like other Marvel movies, great use of music that we do here.
Yes.
And the movie that you're tuning into here on Cinema Hits and Misses is Thor Ragnarok. If you've heard this, we're here live till 8:30 at 780-4909. That's 780-4909. And, we've given you the gentle version of this. Now, this last part of the show, we are going to take some gloves off. So if you haven't seen this yet, you don't want the spoilers, you might want to
3,
tune down
2,
just a little bit.
1.
And let's go.
Yeah.
First, the cameos.
Yes.
The
Oh my
cameos
God.
in here. I howled, and the person I was with was like, "What?" Because there's a scene in here where, I mean, if you've seen the other movies, you know that Loki has taken control, and you see a play where Loki is the savior, and there are 3 people who have cameos in this that just excel. First being Matt Damon.
Yes.
Second being Sam Neill, who was in Hunt for the Wilder People with
Yes.
Taika, and then Luke Hemsworth,
That
older
was-
brother of.
That took me a while to be like, oh my God, that's his brother.
So again, that's one of those moments. It's like the inside joke for people who have watched this. So it's a laugh. What else have we find fun in this?
One, since it's spoiler, I can there's a joke at the end when Bruce becomes Bruce, and there's this whole awesome arc where he's been Hulk for 2 years, and he's like, if I become Hulk again, I may not be able to change. So as there's fighting at the end, Bruce is on a spaceship, and he's like, I got to do something. So he does a similar act that he does in Incredible Hulk, where he jumps off a plane, and in Incredible Hulk he crashes, but then he becomes Hulk automatically. This one, on the other hand, he falls and lands on a bridge, ragdolls right landing, and then the beast he was gonna fight just walks by him, and then he later turns into Hulk. But I just died laughing because I'm just like, that was awesome.
Yeah. And just the once he turns back into Banner, he gets handed some of Tony Stark's clothes,
Yes.
and the jokes about how tight Tony wears his pants, and it's just so many great jokes that they take advantage of that it could have just been gloss over oh, he's wearing Tony Stark's clothes, whatever, but just those captured opportunities to make some just great jokes.
Well, that and the Duran Duran T-shirt.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, during the gladiator fight where Thor's trying to do the calm down technique that the sun's getting low
Yeah.
thing from Age of Ultron, and it kind of just and then turns immediately what happened to Loki in Avengers where he gets thrown around, and then Loki's like, "Ha! See?" That was a ride as well. It's interesting. This film actually, if you think about it, has a lot of consequences. Like there's a lot of destruction.
Yep.
And a lot of things are lost. Yet they don't really take it that seriously. They kind of just toss it aside, and I think that works to its benefit. I can't I'm trying to imagine like a film like how Ragnarok was, but like in the tone of like say the Dark World. I don't know if that would have
been so boring.
especially because they probably would have really
Yep.
probably got rid of the comedy altogether.
Yeah.
And it probably would have just been lost. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
And that's that's something that I really appreciate is I feel like they kind of saved the Thor franchise with this movie. That Dark World was just so boring.
Yeah.
And actually, Leo hasn't seen Dark World yet because it's boring.
Yeah, you don't have to
it's just it doesn't fit with the rest of the Marvel universe.
No.
And what's so great about this movie, as John said, it kind of has that Guardians feel to it, and you can see that they're starting to build a world that will tie in the outer space Guardians element with the Earth-based heroes. You have Doctor Strange cameo, and it just they do a nice job of setting up Infinity War.
Yes.
Without really kind of belaboring the point. It's like, okay, here's a little bit and a little bit and a little bit, and if you're paying attention and know anything about the MCU, you'll know what's coming.
Yeah, so you almost need a primer. If you haven't read the comic books, if you haven't seen the other movies, it's getting to a point that you almost need the cliff notes of how we're related. I mean, Dark World, there may be a couple of paragraphs of what you need. So Leo, you're not missing a whole lot there. So
and even at the beginning when you're mentioning the Infinity War, they even brush over it when he's like John said in the synopsis, he's captured and he's just like, oh, I was looking for these Infinity Stones, something, never found any of them, and now we're moving on to a different, and it's so it definitely like made fun of itself, and I think Taika, with Thor, like the Dark World, even the first Thor, they did take it very seriously. Kenneth Branagh did the first one, so it was very Shakespearean, and I feel like they didn't know where to go. And this one, after, I think with the help of Guardians, the first one, that they're like, oh, we can just, we don't care, we can just do whatever we want.
Right. And Helmsworth allows them to do that because he has those comedic chops that I feel like he's just discovering them. It's like almost like he's surprised by them sometimes because it he just he seems to be having so much fun doing it. You see all the making of clips and he just seems to be having such a good time. Like, oh yeah, this comedy thing is kind of fun. And,
that's where I think you have a good marriage here between Taika Waititi and Eric Pearson, the writer.
Yes.
Eric Pearson did a lot of the Agent Carter, which I don't know if you guys saw that on ABC.
Great show. I wish it would come back.
I know. Peggy Carter is an offshoot of the Captain America franchise and sadly short-lived, but so he had the Marvel background, and Waititi brings in that great comedic timing and to bring out the performances of these characters. I mean, they trust. You can feel there's a trust there. So
I was just gonna say, with Chris Hemsworth's humor, in the Marvel movies we've only started a glimpse of that, like in Age of Ultron when everyone's trying to lift Thor's hammer and like Captain America is barely doing it. Like Thor looks a little worried. But to go on to what you had mentioned, I think the timing with Tom Hiddleston as Loki, there's a point when he's tied up and Thor's just telling this story of what Loki did to him as a child, and when he's done, and it's still a funny story, and then you look and then Loki just smiles he's like, yeah, I did that.
and Jeff Goldblum, in the comics, is he the brother of the Collector? There's something tied in there with the Collector.
There's some tie-in with the Collector not my era.
Yeah, I believe, yes,
Yeah.
they are related,
Yeah.
which then just makes me want to have a scene between Jeff Goldblum and Benicio del Toro.
Well, and that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
Just put it in like some like an Infinity War. Just put it at the tag of them like, this is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, and again with the Tom Hiddleston timing as Loki, as he's going through the vault of
Yeah.
the different items that are
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
You know, you see the Tesseract, you see the horns of
Sargon.
Sartor.
Sartor, yep.
So you know that little timing again. It's like that impish smile that he
yeah.
gets. Okay, is he gonna take it? Did he take it? We won't see it.
Right.
And 2. Everyone had 2 finals or stay for your after the credits.
Yeah,
Oh,
two.
yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah.
yes. There's
there
two.
There are two.
There are
Um,
two.
One of them's more related to the plot. It's not like Guardians Volume 2 that had like 5 and only one had to do with the third third Guardians movie and no other thing. This one, the last one is more It's more in the vein of the last credit scene in Spider-Man, where you're just having fun. So yeah, just 2. I'm trying to think anything. Yeah.
Yeah. I think for the most part, if people are really into the Marvel Universe, you've probably seen this or seen this once or twice.
Yes.
You know, I think you can get a sense that I think we all enjoyed it.
Yeah, and
Yes.
what's crazy is that this is I forget the number of how many Marvel
17.
movies.
17.
17, but also how many Marvel movies have been number 1 in the box office?
I think they all have.
They're all like,
At number 1, yeah. I
Yeah.
think they all have.
So-
that.
Yeah.
they just do a good, like, I know we have a lot of superhero movies now. I'm happy about it because growing up, even if, like for me, we had a few that weren't great, but Green Lantern. But having all these movies and each one is perfect, and I'm excited for Black Panther in February. and
Yeah.
I'm excited
Yes,
for
that looks
Infinity
excellent.
War, Captain Marvel, all those movies because they just do such a good job.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot to look forward to.
Yes. And I will say, so far my favorite Stan Lee cameo.
Yes.
And
Yes.
age appropriate for
Yes, I would say age appropriate. Few words here and there, but definitely the action sequences are not scary or too gory or graphic. So all in all, I think definitely appropriate for kids who have seen other of the Marvel movies.
Okay. So that's our take on Thor Ragnarok.